Welcome back everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. Damon loved me like I was his whole world, and he made everyone around us believe it too. The man was a vision of black excellence. Always clean-cut, waves spinning under his cap, skin glowing, smile dazzling. He'd open doors for me everywhere. At restaurants, at the church, even at my grandmother's house in Memphis when we first started dating. He left little notes in my purse. "For my beautiful queen," they'd say, along with a single rose or a small piece of jewelry. Birthdays, anniversaries, random Wednesdays. It didn't matter. He never missed a moment to make me feel cherished. The kind of love that you see in old movies where the couple is always holding hands and people stop them to say, "Y'all are relationship goals." That was us, or so I thought. He was my first real love, my first everything, and after 11 years I truly believed the ancestors had blessed me with this man. Our wedding had been the talk of the community. Folks still mentioned it. The gospel choir, the tears he cried when I walked down the aisle, how he whispered, "My queen has arrived," as we said, "I do." We built a life together, a beautiful craftsman home in a historic part of Memphis, pictures of us everywhere, with our families at the family reunion, on a trip to Ghana, at Howard homecoming. When I had a miscarriage 4 years into our marriage, Damon stayed up every night holding me, wiping my tears, making my grandmother's soup recipe. He cried with me. "Whatever happens," he whispered, "I'll love you until my last breath." He never raised his voice, never disrespected me, never so much as looked at me sideways. It wasn't just the grand gestures either. He'd text me every day around lunchtime asking how I was. On days when work drained me, he'd massage my shoulders and run a bath. We'd watch old episodes of Living Single together. Sunday mornings, he'd make his mama's famous pancakes while blasting Frankie Beverly and Maze. And he always made sure I got the biggest serving. My girlfriends envied me. Even my grandmother said, "Child, you struck gold. That boy is a blessing." And I believed her. I never even looked at our bank statements. I trusted him that much. Damon was home. So when I first noticed a $12,000 withdrawal from our joint account, I barely blinked. I was organizing paperwork for a property we were considering buying in Nashville. Something I'd always wanted to do. Damon handled most of the finances and investments. "Relax, baby, I got us," he'd say, handing me some sweet tea while I scrolled through real estate listings. If a bill ever went unpaid, it was because he was negotiating with the insurance company to lower our rate, not because he forgot. That was Damon, always on top of everything. But that $12,000 started nagging at me. I told myself not to be suspicious. Damon was probably investing or handling some business. I tried to push it from my mind, but every time I logged into our account to check something, there'd be another big transfer. $7,500 here, $8,800 there, a few for $3,200. The amounts never matched up to our bills or investments. The deposits started getting smaller but more frequent. Still, I convinced myself there had to be a reasonable explanation. Damon had never lied to me. He was the most trustworthy man I'd ever met. I shrugged it off, made a mental note to ask him about it. But every time I saw him, he'd be doing something sweet, bringing me flowers, cooking my favorite meal, surprising me with tickets to see Anthony Hamilton. Felt wrong to question someone who loved me so much. But curiosity is persistent. One evening, Damon went to Houston for a business conference and left his old iPad behind. He'd always been private about his passwords, but I remembered the code from our anniversary date, the one he used for everything back then. On a whim, I tried it. The screen opened up. I found folders labeled with months and years, digital receipts and spreadsheets. The deeper I went, the worse my stomach turned. There were transfers from our accounts to names I didn't recognize, but one stood out: Kendra J. The name appeared over and over, for thousands of dollars each time. I started shaking, my hands were sweating as I searched her name. Kendra Jackson's Instagram pulled up, a bright, curated page. 25, Atlanta-based. A lifestyle blogger with a surgically enhanced body and a breathy YouTube channel about living your best life. Every post, Damon was there lurking in the comments. "Queen," she wrote under a video of her in designer workout clothes. He replied, "My heart." I read and reread the comments, each one like a slap to my soul. He had a whole other life. Pictures of gifts he sent her. A BMW, a luxury loft in Buckhead, Atlanta. I felt like my bones were turning to ice, but I didn't cry. Not yet. That night, I cleaned the kitchen, made myself some chamomile tea, and forced my body to sleep. When Damon came home, he kissed my forehead and asked how my day was, then cooked me salmon and grits from scratch. I watched him, my heart breaking, but I smiled and ate every bite. I told myself maybe I'd made a mistake, maybe I was being paranoid. But deep down I knew. He was so normal, so tender. He never slipped up. He was still posting us on his social media, still buying me gifts, still sending flowers to my job. The man was calculated. I realized this wasn't some careless affair. He had planned every move. I started paying attention to the little things. How he kept his phone face down, how his business trips increased, how he was always tired but never missed an opportunity to show me affection. I acted like everything was fine. I smiled, laughed, and even thanked him for working so hard. Inside I was dying. Every day was agony. My dreams turned dark and I woke up with anxiety in my chest. I stopped eating much, lost 12 pounds in a month. My friends noticed, but I lied, said I was just stressed about work. Nobody suspected a thing. Damon was still everyone's favorite husband. They called us the couple who made it work. I started digging for real, quietly, carefully. I took screenshots of every suspicious transaction. I checked our joint credit cards and found more hidden spending. Hotels, dinners, jewelry, travel. I even hired a private investigator. A sister named Carmen, discreet and sharp as a blade. She found everything. The trips, the Miami getaways, the wire transfers, the cash deposits to Kendra's consulting business. He was even paying her car note. Carmen gave me a folder with photos. Damon and Kendra holding hands, eating dinner, shopping. One photo destroyed me. Damon embracing her, laughing, wearing the same dashiki he'd worn to my birthday dinner just 3 days before. I stared at that picture until my eyes burned. Still I said nothing. Played my part. I let him believe he was fooling me. I had to know the whole story. I waited and watched and learned everything I could. If I confronted him too soon, he'd just gaslight me or cover his tracks. He was too smart for a messy ending. Then I found the real betrayal. Damon wasn't just cheating. He was preparing to leave me for her. He'd been moving money, siphoning off savings little by little, sending her cash for her business, buying her a car, paying for her apartment. He was trying to empty our accounts and start over with her. But here's what he didn't know. That Nashville property I'd bought it cash through an LLC registered in my cousin's name. The $800,000 from my grandfather's old farm sale. He thought it was sitting in our joint account, but I'd invested it all in that property. Damon thought he was draining us, but I'd already moved the real wealth out of his reach. The more I found, the more I realized Damon was a master manipulator. He'd created fake invoices, used burner phones, even made up fake business deals to justify his absences. But I was one step ahead now. I tracked every move, recorded every conversation about future plans. The pain was like swallowing broken glass, but I powered through. Months passed. I grew cold, detached. Damon noticed, but he chalked it up to stress. "Let's take a trip to Jamaica, baby," he'd say. I nodded and let him plan everything. In my mind, I was counting the days until his final move. Then the moment arrived. I saw an email pop up on his tablet. A lease agreement in Kendra's name for a penthouse in Atlanta. Move-in date, 5 days from now. He was about to leave me, and he didn't even have the decency to tell me. I felt rage like I'd never known. I could have screamed, thrown things, burned all his clothes. But I didn't. I channeled it into a plan. I wanted him to feel what it was like to be played, to lose everything the way he tried to do to me. I set up a meeting at our bank. "We need to update our estate planning," I told him one morning, my voice steady. "Let's just get everything in order. You never know in this world." He grinned, thinking he was about to pull one over on me. "Of course, baby," he said, kissing my cheek. "You know I got you." The day of the meeting, Damon dressed to the nines, navy suit, silk tie, gold watch I'd bought him for our 8th anniversary. He even brought flowers for the bank manager. He held my hand as we sat in the conference room, smiling like a man who thought he had it all figured out. The manager, Ms. Washington, a no-nonsense sister with a warm smile, printed out a stack of forms. I'd set it all up in advance. Damon signed everything without reading, just like he always did. "Anything for you, beautiful," he said, winking. I signed too, my hand steady. What Damon didn't know was that the forms he signed gave me full power of attorney over all our joint holdings and confirmed that he no longer had any access to the house or any funds that were in my name. Everything else, our investments, our credit lines, even the joint account, I had already drained and moved to accounts he couldn't touch. He was still smiling, still sweet, still squeezing my hand as Ms. Washington slid an envelope across the table. "Some important documents for you both," she said, her eyes meeting mine briefly. Damon opened it, expecting to see routine paperwork. Instead, inside was a complete ledger. Every cent he'd ever moved out of our joint accounts, every transfer to Kendra's consulting business, every cash deposit, every transaction. On top was a printout of Kendra's Instagram, the pictures of her in front of the BMW, the "thank you daddy" posts, the hotel receipts. I watched his face drop, eyes darting from page to page, lips trembling. He looked up at me, speechless for the first time since I'd met him. I leaned in close, just enough for him to hear. "You transferred our savings to your little influencer, but you forgot who the real strategist in this marriage was." He tried to stammer out some excuse, but the evidence was all there. Ms. Washington cleared her throat. "Mr. Williams, your access has been revoked. All accounts are frozen pending the financial review." He blinked, still not fully processing it. I stood up, smoothed my dress, and looked him in the eye. "Good luck, Damon. Hope Kendra likes broke men." Then I walked out, heels echoing on the marble floor, head held higher than it had been in months. That was the last time I saw him in person. 2 weeks later, I saw Kendra post a story on Instagram, crying in her car, saying her king ghosted her and repo men took the BMW. Apparently, Damon tried to bounce back, but the IRS had flagged all those transfers he'd made to Kendra's business. They launched a full audit on both of them. No criminal charges, but they froze Damon's remaining assets and hit him with a mountain of back taxes, interest, and penalties. The bank closed his remaining accounts. The Atlanta penthouse, lease cancelled. The BMW, repossessed. Kendra went back to selling hair products and waist trainers on Instagram, complaining about fake men and haters. Damon called a few times, but I blocked his number. He tried reaching out through mutual friends, but I told them I was done. I wanted peace. I started therapy, focused on rebuilding my life, poured myself into my work, and leaned on my family. For the first time in years, my grandmother just hugged me and said, "You're free, baby. That's what matters." The Nashville property turned out to be a gold mine. The market exploded, and I sold it for $2.8 million. After taxes, fees, and paying Carmen for her excellent work, I walked away with $1.8 million clean. I didn't buy anything flashy. No new car, no designer bags. I just moved into a beautiful townhouse with a garden, filled it with plants and books, and filled myself with peace. I'm alone. I'm smiling. I'm free. And Damon, he's just another man who underestimated the wrong woman. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story of resilience and wisdom from our community.